All right, Alan, my man, my one of the first ever Elite Sentinel graduates, hand selected to be in the first test run of the program. So what we're going to do today in this little interview is tee up kind of where you were prior to joining the program and basically what you've learned from it and how it's impacted you. So with that, could you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your family? I know you're expecting, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Yeah. George, thanks so much for having me. I have an exceptional marriage. Before starting the program, I was married for now over 3, 4 years at this point, and I was at a really growth stage. I was at a peak stage where I felt I thought I had everything dialed in and ready to kind of go to the next level. I knew for me that coaching and finding the right people, the right tribe, the right systems is what's going to continue to help me to level up. I looked around and I said, I need to grow in more authentic manhood and leadership. I need to grow as a person because I'm going to be a new father. I want to be around a brotherhood who has that ability. And when I saw the tenets of the Elite Sentinel, I thought, okay, I want to be that person for my daughter. I want to be that person for my wife. But more importantly, when I looked at myself in the mirror, I said, Alan, you need to go to the next level. And this is what's going to take you to that next level. So you can really see, I was at a really great stage of my life. Like anyone who would look in, like, great job, great marriage, good relationships, good community, really looking for that extra push into something
Mm.
into greatness and legacy. And I knew that I couldn't just do that on my own. And I saw this as an opportunity to take it to the next level and be with a group of guys that want to do it as well, which made it almost so much more worth it to do it alongside such great people.
Yeah, man, you did an exceptional job going through the program. You really poured your heart into it. You had so much to offer the other guys in the group too, and it was really cool to see those relationships form and grow with the other brothers going through the program with you. Real quickly, can you just speak to how much that has benefited you now on the other side of it? You guys are all graduated together. You're in the Vanguard, working together still every week. How has having that separate brotherhood, this professional community to rely upon, how has that changed your day-to-day life?
Absolutely. So I'll give an example, a recent example. I got a text this morning from a brother in the Vanguard checking in and just saying all of his wins and what he's doing, and just that level of accountability on items that you're like, this is what matters in life. Crushing it in various different areas, but also seeking the weekly accountability and saying, hey, this is what I'm going to crush this week. Here's where I'm struggling. Here's where you can reach out to me. But things like that happen through working and forging yourself for 12 weeks. And I'm remembering as I'm thinking about post, the first couple weeks have been like, do I text you? Do you text me? And brotherhood actually being forged into something that actually matters and helps each other out. Other outcomes for me personally has been noticing that the lone wolf truly does get eaten. Like
Mm-hmm.
you cannot do this life in excellence by yourself.
Yep.
And seeing others do life in excellence helps you and motivates you and allows for you to be a real tool in this world. And if you want to make that impact, you want to be that person that is legendary and leave something behind. Like this is this type of stuff that you need. You need other people who are like, yeah, I'm going to do this too, because we were never meant to do it alone. And I knew that from like a baseline understanding, head knowledge, but when it becomes heart knowledge and you can see it in action week after week, I think that really transforms the DNA of a man to say like, yes, I have to do this thing versus like, this is something that might be needed
Mm-hmm.
in me.
Yeah. So you've kind of grown in your ability to handle more, right? Your level of capacity for responsibility and authority has increased, right?
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
I think in all areas. And whenever there's a challenge, for example, at work or in life, I can look to a brother in the Vanguard and know confidently that the person I'm going to pick up the phone is a trusted, reliable source of information that will know, hey, maybe he just needs to listen, or hey, here's that tidbit of information, or hey, I've already gone through that, here's how I'd handle it.
Yeah,
So you really get to accelerate areas that you might be reading 7 books on. You get one conversation with somebody that you've done a program with together in like 30 minutes. So you're constantly accelerating in areas of your life that you're like, oh, that would have taken 5 years or 10 years. Well, you kind of got to do that in a 30-minute conversation and saved
that's
yourself so
awesome.
much headache.
Yeah, man. It definitely sharpens each man, you know. So the way we've designed this is so that there's tons of mutual benefit that comes from not just doing the coursework as an individual, but the shared experience with your brothers. So I love to see that that's playing out so well for you. I'm glad the vision has come into reality for you. I wanted to ask, in your opinion, what's the most valuable thing you learned through the whole process so far? Because this has been about 4 or 5 months in now for you, right?
Yeah, so the most valuable thing, I would say the emotional regulation and critical thinking. And the reason I picked those two is for me as a man, I realize like I have some of the logistical thinking, I have some of the, things that people just take are harder for them to do, planning future stuff. But I recognized that emotional intelligence, that critical thinking, that's what really differentiates somebody. As you get more capacity, you have more things that come towards you, you've got to be able to regulate yourself in such a way that you're leading and you're thinking ahead and you're serving those around you. And I think that's been a big takeaway that has been cascading in learning, meaning like initial concept may have started, but I know it's a seed that's going to grow for years to come. And it's been cool to watch myself kind of realize like, oh, I haven't arrived. Like
Yeah.
this is like a lifelong journey. And to me, I'm addicted to learning. I'm addicted to like becoming better. And so to find that thing that's like, yes, like I can grow with a group of people in an area as critical as this, especially bringing a new girl, a new daughter into the world, being able to imprint that on such an early age, that's definitely one of the most valuable takeaways is that there's complexities to emotions and regulating them as well as teaching them that will take a lifetime. And I think for me, that was a huge takeaway. Um, yeah, that's a big one for me.
Yeah. And so prior to doing the training, you felt like you had a pretty rudimentary understanding of like how to actually do that. And now do you feel that you're much more practically able to apply it on a consistent basis?
Yeah, I would say that like I went from being asleep to kind of understanding those ideas of, hearing about like, oh, like leading through emotions, but now becoming more aware of like where my emotional state is, where I'm going to be, how I can impact
Right.
others, like the perceptional side of it. And then the more important thing of understanding the weight of words and how they can create an emotional landscape for a room, a person, for self, and how as an individual you can perpetuate that moving forward. So for me, that was a huge unlock, and that was primarily not only in the program, but like genuinely wrestling with questions that were difficult, that were a part of the program, and then having other men kind of either validate an experience or hear from theirs. And I think that's the challenge. If someone is listening to this, is that you might be at level 10 in your life, but know that there's like level 1000, and when you don't get to that next level 11 or more until you have men or ideas that are going to break the psyche of where you're at to move
Hmm.
you forward. And that's what this is going to be for you if you're truly at that high capacity, making change all over and looking to kind of dial it in even more.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. And I asked you to join as part of like the first kind of test group, right? To validate how effective this training would be for men, knowing that you were already at a very great place in your life. I wanted to see if the leadership training specifically, not just for family leadership, but in general, if that would still, sharpen you much more. And from my view, it seems like that has played a big effect. Can you speak to that element? So not necessarily your relationship, because you were already very strong in that aspect, but how has some of the leadership training specifically through the program played out in different aspects of your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll talk a couple dimensions. So the first dimension I'll talk about is in my corporate work. I'd say that as a professional, I have noticed that the practices that I've implemented in the program has helped me get promoted, helped me get noticed by leaders, and helped me like be that guy that people can look to and know that he's going to follow through, but he's also going to make sure that things get done in an effective way, and he is going to make a change and an impact. So I have really enjoyed that element kind of exploding in the corporate side. And then in my personal like leadership, I'd say that noticing that like just the business and financial moves that I'm making are like far reaching than I would normally go to. And that's a direct correlation with noticing that like I don't have to put a limit on myself. I could lead myself into something greater, especially, getting into some of the new business ventures that I'm getting into. I never thought I would ever get into real estate or get into kind of managing things. And it just took that push of like, you know what, if I create the correct plan, if I have the right people in place, like these ideas can come to fruition.
That's awesome, man. And so would you say your self-confidence has grown pretty significantly since doing the training?
Yes, absolutely. I feel like my self-confidence has increased as well as my desire to want to reach out to others and to have a circle of people in my life that are actually pouring into it and growing it. I think that's something that is fun that I learned through the program is that the people that you're keeping around, the voices that you're hearing, the people you're telling your goals to, like who are you telling your goals to? Who's feeding into that? Like that makes such a difference towards like your day to day. And I didn't
Hmm.
realize that on so many scales that like just having the right person say like, why not? I believe in you. You've got this. And they've done it or they are inspired from you doing it. Just a tertiary benefit, I think, just going through the program.
Yeah, I know for a while too, you were struggling with kind of the whole mindset, piece that we teach pretty heavily through the course, especially as it relates to everything is mind control. Can you describe a little bit about how you used to tackle problems with your kind of understanding of that concept and how much differently now you're able to essentially guard your own mind from negative influences simply because you went through this course?
Absolutely. So, I would say that there were times where before the course or even as I'm going through the concepts and becoming aware, there would be that doom scrolling, let's say, for an afternoon or a day or moment. And before I didn't have the awareness that that isolated incident is now causing my belief system later on in a specific area. Um, and once I had that kind of unlock of like, ooh, like I have a lot of control to curate what is coming into me and what is getting produced out of me, I was able to make a shift towards like, hey, I'm going to consume content that's going to bring life. I'm going to be around people that bring life to me and be very guarded towards who I hang out with and when I hang out with them. And it's made all the difference. It sounds like a simple switch, but when your countenance and your eyes and your spirit and like who you are and how you show up change from what content you decide to listen to or not listen to, it becomes such a difference. And then just knowing that like everything is truly mind control, everything that you're like consuming is. Um, I think that was a big kind of unlock for me to be aware throughout my day to day.
The other thing too, I think we worked on pretty heavily together was kind of being able to tell people no, right? How to
Hmm.
hold your standards and be the man that you believe you're supposed to be, even if it makes someone else kind of feel not okay because it's the right thing to do. Can you talk a little bit about how, on a more consistent basis now, you've been able to kind of lean into that, not from this overbearing kind of tyrannical point of view, but just understanding that like it's okay for me to hold healthy boundaries?
Absolutely. So I would say from a multi-pronged process, I'd say like family, work, marriage, like I have seen such a significant difference in making sure my yes means yes and my
Mm,
no means no, and being able to be aware of like when I do that really well and what my life looks like, and in the instances maybe that doesn't go well and where my life is, and being able to quickly snap back. I think of some specific examples of saying yes to a bunch of family engagements despite knowing the exhaustion that it might cause for the entire whole, and recognizing that I have a responsibility to say no and not say it in an offensive way, but just say like, yeah, we're going to do X, Y, Z. I don't have to lie about it. I don't need to
Hmm.
pretend I'm doing something else. My no just means no. But if I say yes, like I'm fully in, I'm fully engaged, and in building that reputation and that history was something that was fun to really work on. Um, yeah, throughout the time.
And then that has played a huge positive impact on kind of your emotional state and how good you feel on a consistent basis, right? Because you kind of you respect
Yes.
yourself enough, you value yourself enough to kind of hold your lines.
Yes, absolutely. Like when you have that self-respect, you understand that you don't have to necessarily like be insecure about defending yourself. You're just being yourself. And I
Hmm.
think something I've learned too is that sometimes others' insecurities come through just setting a boundary and being able to say like their response is not my responsibility. My action is what is within my realm of responsibility, and being able to do that kind of consistently and getting reps in has made the difference between like being exhausted on Sunday evening and not being ready on Monday morning, to like actually having consistent energy throughout the day to get things done.
That's awesome, man. And you kind of used to struggle with people pleasing a little bit, right?
Yes, yes. So I think there is definitely a focus on like pleasing someone else or being diplomatic in situations, and learning the difference between like I'm not voting on myself and like I'm
Hmm.
not able to select what is best in a situation if I'm constantly listening to other opinions. And I think that being able to recognize the differences and then also having other people's perspectives within the program, has really made such a difference for me to be just a better human, showing up, I'd say, as well as just being exceptional in different areas of my life.
Yeah, man. And you've done a great job. It's been so awesome to watch you grow in your masculine leadership ability. And remind me how old you are as of this recording.
As of this recording, I am 28 years old.
Nice. So, Alan, 28, still very young, on the path of building your career, starting your family. And despite all that, right, I know a lot of people kind of say, oh, well, you're just this old or whatever. I would say that you have risen as a leader amongst the brothers. I think a lot of guys look up to you in a lot of ways. And so this is just the power of these concepts and the disciplines that are taught through this program, whether you're 60 or 28 or somewhere in between. This stuff will transform you. And so the last thing I'd like you to answer, Alan, is for the guys maybe on the fence about this. They've looked at it. They're maybe thinking, well, I don't know if I can afford it, or I don't know if I'm really worth investing in, or maybe it's not going to help me as much as I think. What would you say to that man now being on the other end of this with everything that you've gained?
Your legacy is waiting for you to say yes.
Boom.
Yeah, yeah.
That's epic, man. We're gonna have to clip that one. No, in all seriousness, though, Alan, you have crushed the training. You are an icon of what an elite Sentinel is supposed to be. You earn the title. You live it daily, and it's such an honor to have you amongst the Brotherhood. Thank you for your time, sharing your experience, and
Absolutely.
to all the men out there. If you want to reach out to Alan, we can maybe make that happen. If you have any further questions for him, but you heard it right there. Your legacy is waiting for you, gentlemen. Let's forge you into a leader so that you can build that legacy.